Welcome to my channel, Tessicola Art. Thanks for stopping by. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to draw a portrait of a baby. My measuring method will help you nail down the shapes, size, proportions, and angles, and the guidelines and the boxes that you'll see on the paper will ensure that your drawing comes out as realistic as possible. A baby's eyes are difficult to draw because they're such a distinct shape and very different from an adult's eyes or even a toddler's eyes. The guidelines that you drew, these boxes, will help you get the shapes of the whites of the eyes, the iris and the pupil. You want to start off with a very light value scale like I'm doing here and then gradually go darker, but the eyes in this photo were very, very dark and I wanted to make them very high contrast so that you can see all the details and all the things that I'm doing. It's really a multi-layered process. You want to go over it multiple times and give it a lot of depth. Now the eyes aren't just one shade, they have some light in the middle and shadowing on the top near the lids, because the lids are going to create that shadow. And then you're going to want to go in with a white pencil and a really dark pencil and your smudge stick simultaneously to create that depth, that glistening eye effect. The box guidelines that you're seeing here is going to allow your brain and eyes to accurately translate what it is you're seeing, and it's one way to capture likeness and get a realistic drawing. The boxed guidelines for the nose will make it easy to see the proportion and the angles that you need to draw. When drawing the nostrils, at first be very suggestive and light with your marks. For the value scale, start off very light on the nose and gradually darken it with a pencil that is easy to blend and smooth out. Your blending stump and your eraser stick will allow you to gradually ease into those transitions with the lights, the highlights, the shadowing, the shading, and you can use a black charcoal pencil to give the nose that three-dimensional perspective. As you blend and smudge and smooth out the graphite, you also want to go in after and define the edges with your pencil. Using your mouth guideline, you're going to find the center line and draw it on your ruler and measure the width and the height of the whole feature. Measure the distance between the corners of the mouth and that lower line. You'll want to build the inside of the mouth in multiple dark shades and use your eraser stick to create subtle highlights in the lips. The inside of the mouth is the darkest, so I use my darkest pencil and blending stump to continue building that shade. Here I am actually using a darker pencil, but very lightly applying it because the darker pencils are easier to smooth and blend. And then I'm going in with even darker pencils to define certain shadows. The blending stump is the key tool for achieving skin effect. After you have the value scale identified across the entire face, you're going to want to go in with your pencil and accentuate highlights and shadows on a bolder scale because these are details you want to accentuate and that will make a huge impact on your drawing. When you first start shaping a baby's head, it's gonna feel off or not right at first, but if you use my guidelines and measuring techniques, it will turn out perfectly, spot on, and you will capture that likeness. Instead of erasing the guidelines, if they are light enough, just go in with with a dark pencil and blend that over the guidelines in layers. You know, the forehead has a lot of shadow on it. Above the eyes, there's a lot of shadow. Just keep building that up. This is the stage of the drawing where you're going to want to add more definition to all of the features. You're going to want to go into the hair on the baby's head, add a little more texture, add more lights, highlights, shading, shadows. This is really about subtly sharpening edges. No hard shadows or edges around the ear, just smooth transitions between shadows. You actually want to start off with shadows and then add highlights. You want to use your blending stump to create that skin effect and then go in with your eraser stick for highlights. In the finishing details stage of the drawing, this is when I get very in tune with the highlights and the shadows. I try to make sure that those are correct. I double check the shapes of features, and I go in and just add more shape and definition to areas where I feel needed. The last details are about adding more crisp edges to the features, more highlights, more shadows. With a dark pencil, I went into the ear and the jaw and her collar here and defined and smoothed and blended those edges so it would really add an extra spark to the drawing, an extra pop of detail. Her collar is casting dark shadows around her neck and her jaw, and with shadowing, with those details, you want to focus on a gradation of a value scale, meaning you don't just want to use one shade, you want to use multiple shades that read either darker or lighter, as I'm doing here. Thank you for watching and follow along. I hope you like and subscribe to my channel, Tessacola Art, so I can keep making these awesome tutorials for you guys. Thanks again.